of stepping up our game, we got to get out catfishing.
Yeah. But before I'm going to step on your lead here because you said, speaking of stepping up our game
Oh boy.
on the
Oh
news
boy.
here,
What do we got? What do we got?
I don't have it yet. It's on the way. But I
Mm.
just made a purchase today of, it's a Gen 3, not the Gen 4, which is the newest, nicest model. So I do not have live imaging capabilities, nor would I be able to use it even if I did have it, because the live imaging transducer is $1,400 just for the transducer. So I don't have that. But I did just make the purchase of a new Hummingbird Helix, the Gen 3, that is the networking. It has mega side imaging, it has mega
Yes.
down imaging, and it
Yes.
has the network's capability for down the road when I get the nice Minn Kota trolling motor, so it can communicate with it and I can use the iPilot. So I
Yeah,
was able to
dude.
get the networking capabilities,
Yes.
which in a Gen 4 is like, I think they retail it for like $920 or whatever,
Oh my.
which is the Gen 4. I got the Gen 3. I
Right.
got it new on eBay from some guy in Georgia. I'm not going to tell
Yeah.
you the price, but I don't pay full. I don't ever pay full
But I
price.
just
I
don't pay
can't do it. if I if I
bargain fishing.
if I was a tournament fisherman and I had like sponsors and stuff and they were helping me out, for sure I'd just be like, yes, yeah, all the new
Right.
things, you know.
Right. Right.
but but
Yeah, dude. You
yeah,
got your
dude.
side imaging though.
So
That's
yeah,
been a thread throughout all I swear since we started summer.
yep.
Um,
So
yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
as long as USPS doesn't let me down and it arrives here undamaged and stuff, it's
Right.
new in an open box so they could show all the components and stuff. But
Right. Right.
it's a new unit, just one generation old, which is
Yes.
the
Yes.
only difference that I could see is that the new one has the mega live imaging if you drop 1400 on a transducer, and Wi-Fi capabilities, which for what I can figure out, like doesn't even have a use yet. It's like for future applications.
I think
So
oh wait, maybe that was Garmin. My bad. Never mind.
hey, but yeah, I like to. I've always had the Minn Kota trolling motors, and that's what I plan on like linking it up with down the road and
Sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
So for the future, it's definitely, um, yeah, the even the down imaging and everything. Like the image is supposed to be way more crisp, way more detail, plus side imaging,
Mhm.
and it's a 7-inch display, which my old one's a 5-inch display, so it's a little bit bigger. I'd like to get bigger, but dude, I it's so crazy the price difference is. Like if you
Yeah.
go to a 10-inch unit or a
Mhm.
9-inch unit, even
Mhm.
you're talking like $1,400. It's like double the price
What?
to get, and you're like, I think I'll just maybe look into like one of those magnifying like screen things where I just
Right.
like put it over it and it makes it look bigger. Like I know that there's like,
That's
I know that there's more
crazy.
pixels in the detail and stuff.
Yeah, I
Like
was gonna say it must be like the difference between like a 1080 monitor and a 4K monitor or something at
yeah,
that point,
I
where
think
a
it
720
is.
monitor and a 1080. That's the
Yeah,
only, but still, that shouldn't be that much, unless it is in fact 4K. But
yeah, and
why?
we're talking,
It seems overkill.
yeah, we're talking Helix here, and there's two models above a Helix. There's like the
Right.
Solus,
Okay.
and then there's another one too. So I
God
mean,
damn.
oh, dude, it's gnarly. Like when you start looking into them, like I started almost getting myself into trouble because I was like, I'd really like to have this, and I'd like to have this, and you're like, well, I'm not that far away from this price point at that point, and you know,
Yep.
it really makes
Yep.
sense to just go to here.
Yep.
And eventually, like after tax and stuff, I'm like, what am I doing?
Right.
And then I found this one on eBay and pulled the trigger and just go, no, was that the right move? And I go, shut up, stupid. It was,
It
it
was the
was the
right move.
right
I know,
move.
because we love to just go into research and, like,
Yeah.
know, and but you're right. That's the one thing
Well,
you have
and
to do is just, like, tell yourself, "No, dude, it was the right
yeah.
move."
And another thing, like we had that budget fishing that one time, like if you know you're looking for this stuff, like keep an eye on it, keep looking and stuff. because
Right,
I've been
right.
looking for like 2 weeks, and I know 2 weeks hasn't been a long time, but I've been really researching and seeing the prices and looking for sales. And then all of a sudden, randomly, there's like one guy selling one unit,
Right.
and it's like cheaper than all the other ones. Plus, it was like a or best offer. So I shot him like a $50 like cheaper offer, and he accepted. And I'm like, I can't hesitate. Boom, pull the
Right.
trigger.
Right.
So yeah,
Hell yeah, dude.
and just make sure they're right. They're legit. Is and like obviously I
Right.
could be getting ripped off if they're able to figure it out somehow. But the guy's has been around for 11 years on uh eBay, and he's got a
Mhm.
bunch of positive reviews, and he's got a bunch of other stuff that
Mhm.
he's selling right now,
Mhm.
and looks legit. I haven't got it yet, so I'm trying not to.
Get too
This
hyped,
is
but
me trying not to jinx myself, because I don't want to just be like, it's great, everything's great, it's gonna be the best. So I'm trying to like get out in front of it and just being like, everything's not okay, guys. I don't know for sure. Just over here, and then as soon as it gets here in the
Right,
mail, I'm
right.
just gonna like smash everything in my house. Like, it's real. It's real.
That's fucking real. Oh, hell yeah, dude. That is awesome.
Yes.
I'm so excited for you. Before
Yes.
we
And
get in, okay, so let's jump into the catfish,
yeah,
and
sorry,
I'm gonna
sorry. I
tie
was
that
like,
in actually because I got
okay.
questions and thoughts on the catfishing and the everything you
Yes.
just got. Now, I just want to say something real quick. We did
Hmm.
armored catfish in episode 37. If you don't know, go back and listen. It's good.
Yes.
We'll reference it again later. Trust me, it's gonna get referenced again. That was armored catfish. This is
Yep.
catfish. This is a general catfish
General.
because I love me some catfish, cooking,
Oh
eating
yes.
it. I've not done enough fishing, catching, cooking of
Oh
catfish.
yeah.
That's one of
I
my
want.
goals for this year. I want to do a catfish fry, like a legit catfish fry, right? I
Hell
want to learn
yeah.
how to fry it. I already know how to cook it. Want to learn
Yeah.
how to clean it, catch it, all that stuff, and
Right.
know thy enemy, man. So you just
Dude, the
high
beauty.
level right here. We're about
Yeah.
to get into it. Go ahead.
And I was gonna say the beauty about a catfish fry too is like you catch one good fish, and then boom,
You have a fry.
fish fry. We got enough meat to.
Right, right.
We're good.
Yeah,
I caught
yeah,
one.
for sure. And yeah, that's exactly it. We'll get to that definitely down here, down the list here. But to go back to the all the gear that you just bought,
Yeah.
you said down imaging because I don't fully
Yes.
understand down imaging. I'm already going. That's what fish finders do.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What
So
does that
down.
mean? And would that be good for a muddy fish? Even like would that
Yeah,
get catfish? Would that pick up good on cats because they're always on the
yeah,
ground?
yeah, for sure. So down imaging is like, I don't really know exactly how it works,
Okay.
but the sonar gives you like the read of like where everything's bouncing up, and the fish display as like arcs, where it's
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
like it looks like a boomerang almost.
Yeah.
Down imaging, the fish show up as dots. Like it almost gives you a
Oh,
picture of what it sees. So I
what?
don't know exactly how it works, but the detail of like the weeds and stuff, like you can
Mhm.
clearly see exactly what you're looking at when it's down imaging.
Oh,
Yeah, and the mega
wild.
down imaging and the pictures and stuff, a lot of times those pictures are like super crystal clear. They're like on like a no windy day of like some structure that it's picking up really well, but like there'll be a
Mhm.
tree down there,
Mhm.
and it'll be like, that's a tree. Like no doubt about it. I can see there's a tree down there,
That's
where
so
like the
sweet.
sonar will show you that there's something down there, but
Okay.
it's a little bit harder to tell, especially like the coloring. The down imaging coloring, you can kind of choose the different colors, but it's like
Mhm.
a black background with like
Mhm.
a most of the time it's like a tan image, and
Mm.
it gives you it just kind of like a picture,
The
really. And
contours of yeah.
yeah,
It's not like a
and you
color
can.
photo like today we think of as like a
Right.
picture is just like a snapshot of real life in the moment.
Yeah.
You're talking about like a version of a black and white photo,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
pretty
it's
much,
really the
yeah.
contours of it.
Yeah, it's like a sepia tone, like black and
Yeah.
white photo.
Yeah, 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 dude.
Yeah.
Good way of
And it
putting it. Okay.
yeah, and like it gives you some information. Like for some reason, sometimes some of that shows up on down imaging that doesn't show up on sonar, and vice versa. It's kind of weird like that. So
Okay.
maybe the mega imaging will be a little bit more crisper, and I
Mhm.
won't get that. But like my dad has a Helix 5
Okay.
where it just has the regular down imaging,
Okay.
and I will put that on the view mode when we're using his boat, where it goes split screen, where there's sonar on one side and down imaging on the other. So I'm basically getting the same picture just in two different ways.
Okay. Okay.
And in the middle, it
Ah.
shows like a little bar that looks like a flasher. So the bar that's in the middle is basically doing what like an ice fishing flasher does.
Oh,
So it's like
interesting. Okay.
giving you the same information like three different ways,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you just got to try to decipher like what you're seeing, you
Sure.
know,
Sure.
do your
It's just
best.
it's more
So
information, and then you're the computer. You're
right,
computing you're
exactly.
processing all of that information to find
Yeah,
the right fish. And so,
yeah.
since catfish and they're not necessarily ambush predators, but, like, what I read up on is, like, they're bottom dwellers, They tend to
Yeah.
be, and just so pretty much everything I got from catfish from Britannica. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, just to
Yeah.
shout out Britannica and let it be known, these tend to get sciencey and nerdy, and I look up shit. I look up a lot of shit.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah, they tend to, they're they're on the bottom. They're bottom feeders. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what it comes down to. And so I was like, that's that to me is just a completely, because this technology that you're talking about tends to be bass fished most of the time. Am I wrong saying that?
The technology
Yeah,
is
so your mega down
yeah.
imaging, right? It's developed
Oh,
and
yeah.
tested bass fishing for the most part. Is that
I
accurate?
think for the most part, yeah, because it's the most popular sport fish. So I think
Right.
that that's
Okay.
like the go-to where they really want, that's where the money is.
Mhm. Okay.
So I
Yeah.
would assume that
That's
that's
a
what
good
they're
way to
going
put it too,
for.
because
Yeah.
the more people, more money, right? Like, can you
Right.
build
Yep.
for that? Sure. Okay.
Yeah. But I think a lot of the same technology is used offshore as well. So it's but I would say like hummingbirds technology, I'm pretty sure that it comes from like Georgia or something. They're in one of the southern states.
Oh, okay.
So I could almost guarantee you that it's one of two things. They're probably down there looking for bass and trying to learn like that, or looking for crappie,
Ah, right.
in
Yep.
those states.
Yeah.
But for sure, yeah, man. I think they probably use everything where it's kind of like bass is like on the forefront,
Mhm.
and then they use it to, try to learn the rest of it. Some
Yeah.
of those pros, when you listen to them talk,
Mhm.
it is insane. Where like I saw Timmy Horton one time
Mhm.
driving through, and he's talking about it, and he's like, "Oh, see how there's four fish right there? Like the bass that we're looking for don't do what these are doing, and those are catfish. So we're not gonna cast at those." Like he could just see the
Oh,
dots and see how they were bunched up, and he'd be like, "Those are catfish."
and he
That's why they're like,
knew.
yeah,
Sick.
yeah. So they
Dude,
like
that's
you just
cool. He just
yeah,
knew, like, fish behavior. Like, I didn't read anything about catfish bunching up or
r-
anything like that,
well,
but to
right,
know the way it's probably to know the way the down imaging picks up those bottom feeders, right? Because they
right,
definitely live in different areas of the water.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
spawning
and the
bass fish are right on
right,
the bottom too, but just in a
yeah.
different way for
And
sure.
the bass well, right, the bass will school up, but they don't, like, sit on top of each other, you know? So I think
Mhm,
it's, like,
mhm.
how he could just see, like, those are fish and how they're sitting on top of each other. I just know
Nice.
what they are, yeah. So and that all just comes with experience and stuff, so I'm sure they all know what they're doing, and in those kinda lakes where they have, all the different stuff, I think it's probably even more critical down there where you're
Mhm.
using some of those, like, really dirty lakes and stuff.
Right.
Down south
Yes.
where you can't see anything,
Yep.
they're really trying to learn everything with their sonar because they can't see a thing.
Right. Because it's
Where
just
up here,
nothing.
like bass fishing, the sonar is important, but I've got away with, like I can't even remember. I want to say I was mid to late 20s before I even had a depth finder.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah,
was able to
and it's not like
fish
that's when
no
you started fishing.
no, I was fishing for a long time and doing just fine on the lakes that I fished, just being able to sight fish, and then I did ended up getting a GPS unit where I knew about where I was, but every time you
Mhm.
upgrade a little bit more,
Right, right.
it gets you into that next level to the
Yep.
point where Timmy Horton is even just going like, nothing but catfish down there. I'm not even
I'm
taking
a
that
I'm a
cast.
catfish. Yep.
Where I'm like, we'll see if there's a fish down here, you know?
Right, right, right. So eventually that thing's gonna catch us some catfish is what I'm hearing.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think from what I've heard about catfish and stuff, especially on rivers,
Yeah.
is that they hold tight to the structure. And if
Yeah.
you're on a
Okay.
river where you don't know where anything is, because again, like the Mississippi is dirty, and I
Mhm.
got side imaging that's showing me that there's a you know down tree floating in the water right there. It's like,
Mhm.
oh shit, found as a catfish spot. I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
a lot about catfish, but
Right.
yes, I think it's going to help in every regards, and then the forward facing as well,
Oh, yeah,
where
yeah.
they can shine. When we talked in the iCast thing with the target lock, they know
Right,
that there's a tree right there, lock
right,
onto that tree,
right,
and then just watch it, and all of a sudden you see a fish move. You're
right,
just like, oh, there's a fish in there.
right. There it is.
Yeah, and there
Yeah.
I've seen some of those pictures come out so crystal clear. They might even be able to see that it's a catfish, like see the shape and be
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Because that's also the characteristics of a catfish, right? To have that sort of broader head. I read that all of them. I think this might be a British thing because 'cause I'm pretty sure Britannica's British, but it said barbels, and I was like, "We just call those barbs?" I don't what's barbel? I
right,
don't understand. But it says all catfish have at least one set of barbs on their upper jaw, whiskers. That's what they are. All
yeah,
the cats
okay,
have whiskers, right? But some have
hmm,
snout and chin, and like, so you don't always see them, but like that's how they get their name, catfish, is
right, 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 right,
they have those whiskers on the front. And dude, if imaging could pick up on those whiskers and that flat, not it's always
yeah,
not flat, but they have a broad head that
right.
is just different,
Well,
right?
it's the even the shape is almost kind of like it's like a flat nose that kind of like the back raises up, and then it comes down, and they have a pretty broad tail. So I don't, from like a profile,
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
think you could show me something like I'm so used to the profile of the fish just from catching them. Even
Mm-hmm.
like the other day we were driving down the road, and there was a guy that had a fish sticker, a big fish sticker in the back window.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, what the fuck is this guy into? Because the
Mm-hmm.
fish looks so weird.
Yeah.
And then we get up close, and the sticker was just like weathered, like where the back it just
Oh.
wasn't perfectly straight. And I'm like, oh, like it's just his sticker just started peeling off.
Oh.
So
And
like
what was it? What was the fish?
I think it was like a muskie, but
Oh, and it just had kind of
because the back contour was just a little bit off, I was like, what is that fish? So it was like, is he like
Gotcha.
into like like a weird big trout or something?
Oh,
And
okay.
then when we
Yeah.
got closer, I'm like, oh, I think that's a
Yeah,
muskie,
yeah, and
you know?
most catfish have that unique
Yeah.
profile like that. There's actually a guy
Right.
close to me that has that front straight on wide mouth barbs coming off the face.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
can tell from a mile away, you're like, "That's a big old catfish."
Right. Yep.
And I just that makes me wonder, did you know that they're venomous, dude? Some
Huh?
of them are venomous. Those so I don't know. I didn't go into just bullheads, but we'll get into bullheads here in a little bit, actually, because I got a cool fact. It said that in front of the dorsal fin and the pectoral fins, there's
Yeah.
spines. So
Okay.
that's usually where you get stabbed from. I always thought it came from the barbs, like we were just talking about the whiskers.
Oh, yeah, no.
I always thought it was those. It's not those.
No, those are harmless.
Yeah. Every
Yeah.
time we caught a bullhead, they just uncle, dad, whoever we were with, just fucking whacked the thing against the side of the boat until it fell
Right,
off.
yeah.
They didn't want to
I
touch it, and
I've seen
they were
that.
like, they sting you, and I was like, what the hell? A sting? Bees sting. Fish don't
Yeah.
sting. Turns out, oh yeah, the spines in the front
Dude,
are in the front of the dorsal and the pectoral fins. Some can be venomous. I'm like,
I guess I've
holy
always heard
shit!
people say that they've stung you, but it's just because it, like, pokes you is what I always thought.
Right?
if
No, it
I
can
had
actually
heard that,
sting.
yeah, if I had heard that they were venomous, it didn't stick. But I know that
Right.
like the side, um, the two fins on the side, the ones
Those are
up
the
in the
pec
front,
fins, right?
yeah, the pectorals,
Yep.
those ones have the barbs
Yeah.
because a lot of times when you're trying to release it, you kind of like grab it underneath and get your fingers so those fins almost go between because
Oh,
uh, I've never had any issues, but they can like stab you.
right.
And I've
Right.
seen videos of people being dumb with them and then like realizing like, oh, we screwed up. Like, cause I think they're like barbed where literally like to get it out, you're like gonna rip some meat out. But
Really?
I
Oh
just saw
god.
one pretty recently where the guy had like a small catfish or bullhead. I don't know how to tell the
Right.
difference. They're
Right. Yeah, it's
one and
hard.
the same.
Yep.
But he just kind of like swung it at his friend's like butt cheek. Like the guy had like his pants kind of like hiked up and he just kind of swung it slowly. But the fin just goes right
Oh
in. And he goes,
god.
"Ugh," and just like, yeah, dude, what were you thinking? And then they couldn't get it out.
Oh,
Like it just stays stuck to him.
because it's barbed.
Yeah. So it's
Oh.
like, what are you doing? But yeah, I never knew that
Oh.
they were venomous. Like that's gonna suck.
Yeah. I mean, it
Yeah.
didn't say specifically what like, I
Right.
would have had to dive
There.
down the rabbit hole, right? This is the high level to say, but it definitely was like, "Oh, yeah, they're
Yeah.
spines, they're
Probably
stingers, and
probably the
they
small
will leave
ones.
venom behind."
Yeah. Probably the small ones are the venomous ones, you know?
Oh, yeah.
That's probably their like
Their defense
their
mechanism.
defense mechanism. Yeah, the big
Yep.
ones probably don't need it. The small
Right.
ones are the ones that have it, and he's the one
Right.
that he got hit by a small one. Like,
Yep. Yeah,
oh
short of, like, the
dang, dude.
Portuguese man of war, like, it's usually the small jellyfish that fuck you up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yep.
yeah, so you're making a really good point. Or, like, the toads, right? The little toads that are poisonous, not the big ones.
Right. The little ones, yeah, they're the ones that have the most stuff, or the bright colors,
Yep,
because you're just like, stay away from them. Yeah,
right.
for sure.
Did this
Yeah.
one
Oof.
this one blew my mind, Tim. I'm gonna go back to catfish, of course.
All right.
Did you know that they don't have scales?
I
Like,
did. Yes.
to
They have
me,
like shark skin.
it just didn't make sense to me. Obviously, I've had a cat I mean, I shouldn't say
Yeah.
obviously, but we've been catfishing before, we've talked about it before on the podcast.
Yeah.
Held a catfish, had a catfish, like, partially cleaned from
Yeah.
the butcher. You can
Uh
see
huh.
there's still skin, fins and stuff left on it, you can tell. Just
Yep.
didn't dawn on me. That's
Yeah.
not
They're smooth.
scales.
Yeah. They're
Yeah,
smooth. They feel different. Yeah.
yeah.
It's weird.
Totally
Yeah.
blew my mind, like, in the dumbest way, because, like, I knew that, but, like, to just hear, to just read, like, "That's not scales," you're like, "Oh, yeah, it's called naked."
Naked. I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
that's what Britannica called it. They're like, "Catfish are either naked or armored." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, we've covered the armored part, the
They're
bony."
either
They're like
naked or
bony.
armored.
Yep, the bony
That's crazy.
scales, and I was like, or the bony plates, right? You can't say scales because 'cause they're not scales, they're bony plates.
Right.
Yeah. So I was
They
like,
are
naked or
either
armored, huh? That's pretty cool.
they are either ready for battle or they're ready for battle.
Catfish are pretty cool.
They're pretty cool, bro. They're either armored or they're naked.
Or they're naked,
Which one you trying to catch? Naked. I think I would.
I think. Let's listen to me struggle through scientific pronunciations for a second.
Hey, before you do that,
Yes.
just
Yes.
because I don't want to forget about it, because I did forget about it and it just popped in again. I know
Oh,
you were
yeah.
like, "Oh, this is some nerdy stuff." Don't anybody be discouraged about getting nerdy on this stuff. Some of the best fishermen in the world
Oh.
have studied marine biology, and when you think like a
Oh,
fish, you catch the fish. So don't be scared to get, diving deep in there. If you can learn
yeah.
everything about that fish and what it does and how it acts and stuff, you're gonna be a
Yeah.
better fisherman when you're coming to catching it and figure out its bait too.
Yeah.
Figure out what they do. So,
Yeah.
anyways, that
No, thank you for saying that because I haven't I've been implying that in my mind, right? Like, I just want yeah, thank you for saying that because in my mind, I'm just like, yeah, I mean, the more you study on this stuff, even down to this level of going like any order of fishes are of the Scyller here we go. I even practiced it several times before coming up to this. And then I read it and I'm like, damn it. I question
Yeah.
myself. Siluriformis.
Siluriformis. Latin is a dead language for a reason.
Yeah, dude.
It's stupid.
Siluriforms. Or formis, I say, because it ends in an es. So
Siluriformis.
Siluriformis are catfish. Anything of that is a catfish, and then they're like, and then there's a super order. So any order of Siluriformis are catfish, and then there's a super order that is Ostryphils, and it's basically like Ostryphils. Yep, Ostryphils, something like that. And they're like, that's just what freshwater fish are. Almost all freshwater fish fall in this category, and I'm like, God damn it. I'm going to make myself struggle through 2 Latin words just to explain one is like, yeah, most fucking fresh fish are that. But you could probably, Siluriforms, and you can probably Google something and you can really get into catfish and go down a rabbit hole if you want. One day we'll keep going into more catfish because this is a general catfish podcast, right? So to even talk more about how general we're going to get on this is there's nearly 2,900 species of catfish.
That's
2,900 kinds of catfish.
That's so crazy.
Isn't that wild to think about? I bet you when we finally get around to doing bass, there's not that many. Dude, we did a crappie episode. There was like 4.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, there's got to be some that are like close where I can't think of the name right now, but there's like a fish that they have over in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like a bass. Mm-hmm. But that's still like, I think you have like largemouth and smallmouth bass. Mm-hmm. And then maybe that thing in Australia. And I don't know what else.
I probably think white bass, right? Maybe
because they're so different. Because I think bass are almost even technically like in the panfish category. They're just like a big different version.
Okay,
but they're in their own category, and then panfish are their own category. But even still, if you put panfish in the category of like bass, like a white bass and a largemouth bass don't look anything alike, and catfish are like all the same. They're just like different sizes.
Right. Yeah. And that's exactly why crazy. I wanted to bring up the weird scientific term of siluriforms because, and I said it different every time. Somebody cut that out.
Here, check this out. Ready?
Okay.
If anybody was, I gotta play this because if anybody's watching me, like look at my phone for a while because I want to hear. Oh, come on. You going to do this to me? I have it like pulled up and it's supposed to play it and it doesn't say anything.
It does nothing. No sound coming out of the phone today.
How to say it. And then it just doesn't do.
Whoa.
You hear that?
Yeah.
Siluriformis.
I was way off.
The thing too is like, where is this person from even?
Samsonite.
Right. I would assume that that's how you're supposed to say it regardless of where you're from. Maybe they're saying it with an accent. Siluriformis.
Yep. But I would guess because that's kind of the reason behind Latin is it's not supposed to.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's nuts, dude. I did not see that coming.
Siluriformis. Okay, sure. So Siluriformis. But that's why I wanted to bring it up because there's 2,900 freaking catfish.
That's crazy.
Siluriformis. There's 2,900 different species. And I was just like, no, dude, we've done other episodes like this. This is fucking crazy. And there's only a few that are in saltwater. Like almost all of them. It had 2 families that were outside of freshwater. They're just two families of fish.
That's even crazy to think about. Like how many fish do that? Where there's salt and freshwater versions of the same fish. Yeah, like we just learned last week too with the news. of the world record being broken for the fish, that stingray.
Right,
So stingray's on that category of freshwater and saltwater, but how many
right,
other
right. But how many more? Because also think about a stingray, no scales.
no scales? So
Sharks, no
there's tons of
scales,
different
right?
no scales. I think there's freshwater sharks
There
too.
are a few freshwater sharks. Yeah, I think they're in the Amazon, right?
Yeah, so if you don't
Could be
have
wrong.
scales,
But I wonder if that has something to do with it. How weird is that? Because think about it,
so weird.
even salmon, born freshwater, spawn in freshwater, live in the ocean. That doesn't count.
Right, right.
That's
Yeah, they
not what
just
we're
go there
talking
for a
about.
little while.
Yeah,
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 they
yeah,
don't.
yeah.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
Weird,
So freaking
weird,
weird, dude.
weird, weird.
Yeah. And this is where we're going to get into bullheads quick, Tim.
Yeah,
And because there's brown bullhead, I think we have them here in Minnesota. You correct me if I'm wrong. You probably know.
I think we do. I know we have black
Right.
bullhead for sure, but I would think
Yep.
that brown are here too. I
I think
believe.
they are. And
I
this
think
is
so
why,
too.
yeah, and this is why I wanted to bring this one up is because it, well, all catfish, saltwater, freshwater, right? They lay eggs. It doesn't matter. Fish lay eggs. That's how
Yep,
it goes.
yep.
Some sharks give birth to live ones, but we're not talking about sharks, damn it.
Right, they're different. Yep.
They're still eggs technically, and then they're born live. That's a weird, different situation. The brown bullhead dude builds a nest and protects it. Sounds familiar.
Yeah,
So
sounds like a bird.
sounds like a fucking bass. Bass.
I know, I know.
That was awesome.
Is that, you going bird? Is that what you're doing? No.
You going for bird? You going for the bird thing? Yes, we're talking about fish on the fishing podcast, and
Yeah.
shit. Oh, but I
But
was just
the
thinking.
because I
Yeah,
think
go ahead.
because you called it a nest is why I thought bird too. Because I think most people refer to it as a bed.
As a bed. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Maybe that's also British then too. Right. I should
Oh,
have.
it could be. Yeah, and they people could. Maybe it's even different when it's a catfish where they're just like
Oh,
they'll
sure.
make a nest. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it might be the where they're found, where it's a little bit different terminology because of the rivers and stuff that they're laying in, but they're also in
Yeah.
lakes and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, dude, it does. The other crazy thing, like a bass. So
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen it in Minnesota because we have different style catfish and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen overseas the catfish with the big wavy leg or the tail,
Mm-hmm.
where they're for some reason these crazy people are fishing in those like inflatable tubes where your feet are in the water and they're fighting like
It's like
150
literally
pound
a
catfish.
tractor tire inner tube.
Yeah, and then you're just floating in it and it's open to, well, it's even worse than like a tractor tire inner tube for me. It's scarier because it's like because so those are made for fishing where they're like a U-shaped opening in the front and you sit there and they're made for you to put flippers on and you're literally
Oh.
like the motor. So your feet are in
Oh.
flippers and they're in the water and they're right
Hanging out in
there.
the water. Yep.
And I
Okay.
don't know
I
what
got you.
else is in these rivers, so maybe that's like part of the part that scares me or whatever, but those
Right.
catfish are just massive and they're
Huge.
getting bit like right in front of them, like it's right there. It's so like it just looks intense.
Oh my God.
But those catfish, I see those guys catching those catfish on topwater baits all the time, like they're fishing for
What?
muskies. Yeah, dude, they're smashing the
What the fuck?
topwater baits. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, that doesn't work
Huh.
here. And like how you just said, notorious for being like bottom feeders, but
Yeah. Yeah.
apparently some
Full
aren't.
on. I,
Yeah, or apparently
somehow.
some are
Or
just like super territorial where they're not even
right.
trying to feed. They're just hitting something on the surface to, like get away from my
Right.
nest. I
Right.
don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if
But
that means
I've
other
seen it quite a
things.
few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is the perfect example of just the way that we got into it with the like with the we do this so that you know more, right? Like do that because
Yeah.
one, I do want to go bullhead fishing sometime. I want to see what all of it's about, and it's just like, well, if we know that this bullhead does that, and you already know how to fish spawning bass, I don't know
Right.
if we found out specifically when this is spawning, maybe we
Right.
can invoke the same
Yeah.
response just using bass fishing techniques. Like, could
Right.
work. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, they're territorial. Like, even with bass, when they're spawning,
Hmm.
there's a lot of times where, like, if you put something in their bed, they're not eating it because they're hungry. They're eating it because they want to get rid of it. And
Mm.
sometimes
Hmm.
they won't even. I've witnessed where they'll like pick it up and like just turn their head and spit it back out.
Yeah. Okay.
Almost like they'll take it in and
I
then
said
like
ew, but I know what you meant. Like,
right,
I'm
right,
thinking of it like it took it, chewed it up, spit it back out. Ew.
right, right.
That's not what
But
happened. I know what you mean.
yeah, but it's like they're almost like just moving it, you know?
Yeah. Hmm.
Like it's like
Like
they're
it could
not
have been a
trying to.
rock for all they give a shit. They was
Yeah.
carrying it. Like fish don't have arms.
Yeah, it's like not here. They just go like
Right.
get out of here, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah. No, that's a really good point. So yeah, I just wonder if that could be, that's, I guess that's just something that came out of this. I was like, hey, you're
Yeah,
making
dude. It's
making good points.
definitely interesting. I've never even like looked into it that far. I don't know
Right.
how they spawn. I don't know how they make, new ones. I because I do like eating catfish. I definitely
Hmm.
would pursue them more if I was on lakes where catfish are like prominent, but
Hmm.
the up north lakes for the most part don't have the healthy
Yep.
population of catfish. I think those are a little
Right.
bit down south. There's
Yep.
shallower,
Or closer to
muddier
the rivers,
lakes.
probably.
Yeah, yeah, especially when they have, big rivers flow into them, or they
Right.
are just some lakes are just widenings in the river,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
So,
Good point.
yeah, there's definitely a lot of spots where there are catfish. I just don't fish them, so I don't know a lot
Sure.
about them.
Hmm.
And the thought of them spawning never even crossed my mind. And now that
Yeah.
you're saying it, I'm just like, bet. I bet they're, I don't even know.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
like now you're telling me that they make beds and they protect them.
Right.
So, yeah, I
Yeah.
would assume I can go attack these things just like I would. I would assume I have better odds of catching a catfish using my bass lures at that time of year than I would trying to like throw a dough ball into their area, trying to
Right.
just get them to be protective,
Right.
you know?
Right. Yeah, for sure. And not not all of the, catfish make nests, but now we know bullheads do, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Like it said that the sea catfish, dude, this is so gross to me. They carry the eggs
Yeah.
in their mouth. Blech.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, fuck. I can't handle that texture. I can picture it in my head. Oh, fucking makes so gross.
Yeah.
So
And then they
fucking
start
gross.
hatching.
Yep. And it just
They
has the
start
little fish swimming around its mouth.
yeah.
Fucking dude. Ew.
Ugh.
Ew.
It's so weird. I think that happens with multiple species, but
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
I
it
don't
does.
I don't know which ones, but that's
Right.
all
It just
crazy to me.
yeah, specifically the sea, like in talking about catfish, it said that the seawater, the saltwater ones, um, are the ones that do that. It didn't mention the freshwater ones.
I wonder I wonder how many times that it's been like a reactionary bite where like something just floats in front of their face
Mhm.
and they're just like, "Oh no." You know?
Oh, I just ate my kids.
I just ate all my I just ate all my children.
So before we wrap it up, because trying to keep the front half to an hour or 45 minutes, whatever, and then jumping into the random take, trying to keep that at
Yeah.
about half hour, just in case anybody's listening and trying to keep up with us and has been listening for a while.
Think
Want to talk about how they're, well, at 2,900 species, right? They're
yeah.
all over the world, of course they are.
Oh, dude.
And
Yeah.
you've already sort of been saying that, like we've talked about it before, giants in Japan, right? Huge ones in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude,
Massive.
you brought up the stingray that we talked about in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Fish and News
Yeah.
a couple episodes ago.
Yep.
That was the biggest freshwater fish ever caught by hook and reel. Before that was a catfish on the Mekong River.
Right.
Yeah, on the Mekong River. It was just in Thailand and not, but it doesn't matter, not Cambodia, but it was a catfish, a 645-pound catfish was the record before that.
That's massive.
Insane. Absolutely insane. Then they have the micro catfish in the Amazon River. 1.5 to 2 inches. I didn't look up if that was a venomous one, but that one right there, based on Tim's, theory, we got to look it up. That one's primed to be poisonous.
Right.
Based on the small size, venom thing.
And
I
the
didn't look it up,
location.
but if somebody does, hit us up.
Yeah, like if you, now knowing that some of them are poisonous, if you said a catfish that grows to be 2 inches long and it lives in the Amazon, poisonous or not poisonous? Oh, I'm betting on poisonous.
I'm betting on poison.
Yeah. Have you ever seen, like, talking about like small catfish, have you ever seen what a school of catfish looks like, or like a school of bullheads, like when they're babies?
A school of baby bullheads is that same thing I was just talking about with that seawater fish.
It's just a black cloud.
That texture.
It looks weird. Yeah, from a distance, it looks really weird where you're just like, what is that big black cloud? And then you get close and it's like a million baby bullheads all huddled together.
Yep.
It's gnarly. It's really crazy because they're so dark. Like even the other bait fish are almost like translucent when they're little. So like they're really hard to see. And the bullheads are just like black.
Dark clouds.
And you can't even like from a distance, you can't see the difference between one and the other. So it just looks like what you said, like an oil slick. You're like, what is that? The whole thing's moving.
Right.
Then you get close, you're like, oh my God, it's a million baby bullheads. This is gnarly. So I have seen that a couple of times, and it's always like in the weirdest like little waters where you're just like, are there even any fish in here?
Right.
And you're like, oh, there's about to be a whole bunch of little baby bullheads. I don't know where those came from, but that's a massive school.
They're, speaking of massive fish, there's a catfish that has adapted to eat the pigeons in London. It just swims up all those pigeons.
Not a bottom feeder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Inhaling pigeons.
Yeah.
Bro. Dude,
so they're not all just bottom feeders.
No,
that's typically how they are, but this thing swims up, bam.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure on the River Monsters episodes that they were trying to catch catfish that were like rumored to have eaten people.
Jesus.
Yeah, and it makes sense.
Probably a 645-pound catfish from
Thailand. 640-pound catfish could easily eat a person.
Oh, yeah.
That's a massive fish.
Yeah. And even if it didn't consume the human all by itself, it could easily take you under.
Oh, yeah, if it just took you. Yeah. They eat. Have you ever seen, there's a video that I saw where a small, I don't know if it's a bullhead or a catfish, what species it is,
Right.
Bullhead are catfish. I keep saying that. I don't know what species of catfish it is. I just should say.
Right.
But there's a goldfish or like a koi in the fish tank, and I'm not kidding you, that they're both maybe like, I don't know, 8 inches a piece.
Okay.
And that catfish eats the koi. They are the same size fish.
They're the same size.
And it eats it. It like just, what? It's just, like, and they're facing the same way because there's like an artificial current in the tank. And the catfish just kind of like turns its head and goes like, and then
sucked it in.
Eats the whole thing. And you're just like, how is that even possible? How did it do that?
Just happen?
How did it fit it in there? But it does eventually. It just kind of gets the whole thing in there. And you're like, I don't even
just like, what happened? How?
Yeah. I've seen it before, and I saw it again, and it's so shocking. Even after knowing what happened, to have your memory jogged, you're just like, oh, that's right. He's gonna eat the whole thing. Look at that. That's amazing. I can't believe it. So yeah, think about like a 600-pound catfish.
Yeah.
In theory, could like eat a tiger. Then I don't know.
I think there's tigers in Thailand. So it just swim up just like a pigeon, just like a pigeon eating catfish in London. Just swim right up to the banks while it's taking a drink and.
Yeah, It doesn't even take that big of a catfish to eat a pigeon, for sure. Like, it just needs to be able to fit it in its stomach and be able to get it past its mouth.
Right.
And a bird is all feathers, like it's gonna
Right.
go down easy.
Right. It's so
Oh,
crazy. So
that's
crazy. The
uh
and so the catfish in London, I don't think anybody's really eating them. Whatever, Brits, you're uptight about fish. The blues
right.
and the channels are the ones that we usually eat over here. And I can tell you,
Oh yeah,
right, the
channels.
blues and the
Yeah.
catfish, the
Yeah.
blue catfish and the channel cats are usually what we eat over here. And
Yep.
I typically think of them being in the stagnant, dingy, dirty-ish water,
Yeah, for
sucking
sure.
stuff off the bottom, right?
Uh-huh.
These London ones, it's just clear as a bell. They just swim right up to these
Oh
birds
yeah.
and they snatch them out of
I
there.
think yeah, because I don't know if the catfish are the ones that are dirtying up the water. I think it's the carp.
Yeah,
And I
and
think I think catfish and carp a lot of times like
or
inhabit the same waters. It's also
yep,
not
yep,
necessarily the
for
fish
sure.
themselves that are making the water dingy.
Right,
It's
that's what I was gonna say. Is just this happens to be a clear water running through London, and this
yeah.
like the down south parts of the Mississippi just happen to have a lot of sediment running through them, right? Because it's
Right,
coming out of the
yeah.
mountain, it's coming out of the
Yeah.
Rockies, it's coming out of the Appalachians, it's all coming in,
Yeah.
and yeah, for sure, I think that has a lot to do with it. But that's the thing too about catfish is like they're kind of everywhere. You can catch
Right.
them in the fast mountain river that's flowing into the stagnant, part of the larger river that's draining it into the ocean, and they're just everywhere. It's fucking
Yeah.
crazy. Even though we have like two primary eaters here with the blues and the channels in the United States, it's like there's catfish are so much more than that. You want to talk about some crazy shit here to wrap it up?
Yeah. Well, right before you say that, I was gonna say like
Yeah.
even talking the science, I was gonna say like
Oh
there's
yeah, yeah.
different lake types and stuff. Just like
Mm.
since
Mm-hmm.
we said it with like the different waters and stuff, a lot of times some of those the dirty waters are just like younger lakes.
Mm.
Like they'll if I forget what I just googled it to try to remember what the terms were, but I can't remember it right now. But
Mm-hmm.
I got a I got a book that I read that
Uh-huh.
it helps you like uh identify which kind of lakes they are, and it can help you identify like what the fish do in these kind of lakes based off of
Oh,
like what the lakes are doing themselves. Because
really?
yeah, the older lakes a lot of times like the sediment has kind of like settled to the bottom and there's less weed growth and it's deeper and clearer and stuff, but
Really?
and then the younger lakes are like super weedy and stuff. So yeah, i
That's
i might be
crazy.
getting some of that stuff wrong, but i I haven't fished a whole lot of new bodies of water, so I don't
Mm-hmm.
research that stuff like super hard, but I did
Right.
learn what the lakes that I fish mainly are and how to fish them and stuff. And for the most part, they're all the same. Being in northern Minnesota, a lot of them are
Right. Old
real
glacier
similar
lakes
to
and
each
stuff,
other.
right?
So, um, but yeah, let's get into some crazy stuff. But I just wanted to drop that. Like, don't
Yeah,
be
no, that's
scared to learn a bunch of stuff because even the lakes you can learn about, they can tell you a
right.
little bit more about the fishing.
Right. Right. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that's what we're doing over here at Real AF TV. Trying to like learning. It can be fun and funny and good and you can get some cool shit out of it.
Yeah,
And you can really become
and when you're
good at what you
trying
do.
yes, and when you're trying to learn this stuff, like try to find the resources from like the different fishing books and stuff because just from this moment knowing that there's more out there when I go, what different types of lakes or whatever,
Yeah.
and they start
Google it.
dropping all this different stuff of like a landslide lake, like I don't know what that is. And
Right.
then like tectonic lakes, like this is not what I'm talking about. So like a
Right.
simple Google did not give me what I was looking for. So
Right.
try to find the information in the fishing book.
For sure. For sure. Good point. Good tip. And let's just get weird. Let's just get weird here, Tim. Africa? Of
Yeah.
course there's gonna be a crazy ass one in Africa, right?
Oh, for
Africa's
sure.
got the coolest fucking animals on the planet.
Yep.
There's an electric one.
Oh, dude, there's an electric catfish. Dude,
Yeah.
what? How is this not common knowledge?
I
How come we
know.
only know about an electric eel? There's an electric catfish and nobody talks about it?
I know. What the hell, dude? What is that
Oh,
about? That's exactly the same thought I had. I was just like, yeah, I get it. They're similar. eels, catfish. Some catfish got that like after their dorsal fins, they're like one big tail kind of thing going on. And eels are just snakes in the water.
Yeah.
How does nobody know that there's an African catfish that can do 450 volts?
And
Catfish.
it's 450 volts. It's not even like a weak, like where it's just like,
I know.
yeah, we don't really talk about it because it's electrical, but it's like sticking your tongue on a 9-volt battery where you're like, oh, that was weird. Where you're just like, I didn't enjoy that. But it's not like, oh, Jesus, 450 volts is just smacking you. Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Electric fish are one of those things that is so weird because like when you grow up watching cartoons and stuff, like
Yeah.
electric eels and quicksands are what they're hitting you with, and then you
Yep.
think
Yep.
quicksand's going to be a big deal, and you get older, and you're like, quicksand's bullshit. It's never anywhere, and then you learn like, okay, it does exist, but you're not even gonna like, it's nothing to be scared of.
Right.
Like at the most, you're gonna sink into your waist. I just saw a video of a lady getting out of quicksand without using her hands. Like you can just crawl out of quicksand yourself. So you're like, okay,
Right.
so it's a problem,
Right.
but you can even get out, like the whole thing when you watch the cartoons and stuff when you're a kid. Speaking of cartoons, we'll get into that, but
Right.
they're like, don't move because it makes it worse, and you basically got to wait for help and hope somebody can find a vine because they always have to find a vine
Yep.
and throw it to you, and you can climb out and stuff. So you're like, quicksand's bullshit. So you're just like, oh, so probably like electric eels are bullshit too. And then they're just like, nope, 100% real, and it's in the new Jackass movie.
Yep.
You're like, what?
Yep. And
So
you're like,
how?
oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so like it's real. Like it's
Right.
okay. That's insane. And now you're like, oh yeah, catfish too.
Right.
Oh
Like,
man, that
okay, so it's a thing.
is like mind-boggling. How many other catfish? How many people have been lying to us the whole time? Where
How many
this?
cartoons been
I
messing up our
feel
day?
like I feel like you just been like withholding information from us. Like this is a little bit off topic, and I'm not getting into religion here, so nobody get offended by this, but I feel like this is like when you get there's certain things where it's such a shock to almost feel misled, where it's like it was a little bit different, but like when I grew up, like where they have like the famous story of like Jesus when he gets
Mhm.
crucified and he's
Mhm.
carrying the cross, and it's like all the pictures depict him carrying a full-size cross,
Yeah.
and you're like, damn, that's crazy. Like that's a lot of weight. That's two big boards, and they say that he carries it all over the place, and
Mhm.
and he falls, but he gets back up, and you're like, damn, dude, like this guy's got perseverance.
Mhm.
And then like down the road, when I learned that he didn't carry the whole cross, it was just like the cross member.
Yeah.
It was like the 8-foot long 4x4. You're like,
Yep.
what? He just carried a big board? That's not even close to the same thing. Like that's
The story's
it's
been
like
highly
this.
exaggerated.
Yeah, it's like the same feeling, like where I'm just like, ugh, how come nobody told me about these electric catfish? God dang it. What other shit have I been not lied to?
You have been lied to bring it to the cartoon here as we wrap up again. Did you watch Metalocalypse?
I did a little bit.
Oh, okay. So
Yes.
the drummers, they go to the Amazon. They're gonna do one of their big, their big insane over the top crazy shows. They're going to the Amazon.
Yeah.
And they're told not to piss into the river because parasites will swim up and stuff like that. And so right away, the drummer. Then we've all heard those stories too, right?
Dude,
And
I'm
so
so terrified of going swimming in the
yeah,
Amazon River. Everybody's scared of
yeah,
frogs. That's not what you got to
right.
be nervous about.
So he starts pissing off the side of the boat. Yeah, I'm gonna go take a piss, and he goes over and he pisses off the side. Yeah, really, you got it for shit. They zoom in on the pee stream and they like show the thing swimming up into his dick.
Ugh.
In real life, that's a catfish.
It's a catfish, is it? That little thing is a catfish?
Dude, the thing that swims into your pee hole. Now, there could be other things, but the thing that swims into your pee hole in the Amazon is a fucking
Yeah.
catfish, dude.
So I know, oh, that's crazy. I don't know if it's the same kind of fish that I heard of, but the one that scares me the most is because I heard that it's basically like it can't use its sight. I don't know if it was blind or if the
Mm,
water's so
mhm.
dingy that it can't really see anything, so it
Okay.
relies on its sense of smell.
Okay.
And the smell or like the taste, I don't know exactly how it detects it, but it goes after like nitrates that are because it's
Oh,
like a blood
shit.
feeder. It doesn't eat fish, it like feeds on blood. And
Oh,
these little
shit.
things like swim into the gills of bigger fish and kind of like
Oh,
rub
yeah.
around
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it
yeah. I've heard
causes
of
it to
these.
bleed.
Yep.
And when the fish breathe, it like sucks in the oxygen,
Mhm.
and when it exhales the nitrates, and that's how it finds it.
Oh,
Those
wild.
same nitrates are in our urine.
Sure.
That's
Yep.
how it finds its way into our dick holes.
Oh
And
my
then
god.
it does that same thing where it just goes in there and roughs everything up, trying to like
Oh
feed on the blood.
god.
And because it has like a rough body to make that stuff happen,
Oh,
there's
it's
no
using its
pulling it
whole
out,
body.
man. And there's no pulling it out. It
Oh,
is you
no.
have to go get it surgically removed because that fish
Oh. Oh,
is
no.
not able to be pulled out. It is
Yeah.
something where you have to.
Oh, god.
I don't
Oh,
know the
god.
procedure. I don't want to look into it. All I
Nope.
heard was like that fish swims in your dick hole and you can't pull it out. And I go, well, not swimming in the Amazon River. Like
Well,
there's so
that rules out swimming in the Amazon
I don't even want to
entirely.
go. Yeah, I don't even want to go next to the river because they're just like, well, before you get to the river, there's all these different apes and tigers, and once you get to the river, there's crocodile, and once you get into the river, there's piranha and things that swim in your dick hole, and you're just like, oh, I think I'm just gonna stick to fishing in America. or
Oh, shit.
or to places in other countries that I can access by boat and not have to like go into the jungle and
Jungle
deal with all this other stuff. And then they're
that's
just
trying to
like, "Did
fuck
we
me
tell
up.
you about all the spiders?" And I'm just like, "Oh no. Oh my god, if I don't
Please
die
no.
before I get to the river." Oh man.
Oh, shit. All right. What a fucking wild note to end Catfish, the broad topic on.
Oh, such
Okay.
a broad topic. There's
There's so many notes on here, dude, that we didn't even get to, but we're gonna stick to it.
there's
And
micro. I can't believe like now that you're telling me like the broad there's armored catfish, there's naked catfish, there's micro catfish, there's
mhm.
dickhole catfish, there's formerly the world heavyweight champion catfish. What the fuck?
And 2,900 more species to go.
You're right.
We have plenty of
and
topics.
yeah, we've counted like 6 of the species. Jesus. Oh, and
All
electric
right,
catfish.
man.
Did I say electric catfish?
Oh, right. And electric catfish was like the biggest fucking find of the whole topic.
What the hell?
Oh, shit. All right, man. Well, let's get into the random take here where we're going to talk about cartoons. Right now, it's a broad topic cartoons. Let's see what happens in the second half. If you're listening to this on Wednesday, don't worry. You're going to want to catch this one on Friday, probably. I don't know if it's going to suck or not, but hang in there if you're on the podcast feed. We're going to take a break and then we're going to come back with a random take here in the second half and talk cartoons.
Yes.